What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aidan Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for tuning in today, Lions Talk Live. Hey, it is a Monday show, a morning show edition, and I think we've got a pretty good one today. In fact, somebody hit the drums right now because we're going to do a first ever on Lions Talk Live. That's right, we're not going to have one. We're going to have two main topics today. I really couldn't decide which one to go with. So, I was like, we don't have a special guest today or anything. Let's just go ahead and dive into both topics because I was a little surprised by both. The fact that you're kind of taking shots at two different people. I get one of them with Phil Simms. You're a network analyst. Your job is to come up with content for people to try to consume, want to view, read, whatever. I get that one. But Ben Johnson, man, could that dude put a bigger target on his back? I mean, is he trying to get bigger ratings for maybe the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions, both games next year? I don't know. Maybe both games will be primetime games. Maybe one of them will be the Turkey Day game. But whatever it is, Ben Johnson is probably burning a few bridges here over in Detroit. All right, we're going to get into both of those main topics today. We're going to get into the 5 headlines now. You guys get the whole shebang and bang by this point probably. But, hey, real quick, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that march for 13,300 subs, and we are roughly 91 subs away, give or take one or two. Also, if you would be so kind, reach on down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, hit all the buttons while you're at it. We try to get every episode of the show between 1, 2, 3, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. So if you can assist with that, I would be most thankful for it. Last but never least, if you're considering buying or selling property, a house, vacant land, commercial property, whatever it may be, anywhere in the great state of Michigan or the continental United States, you see my number now on the screen, 269-998-2384. Can have a quick conversation, what I can do to use over 30 years in the industry to save you some time, save you some money, save you some hassle, whatever it may be, make the process a whole lot less stressful and easier for you. Give me a call, shoot me a text. We'll have that conversation and get you rocking and rolling and going. All right, with all that said and done out of the way, let's get this show going and let's jump into 5 headlines now. 5 glorious headlines coming at you regarding the Detroit Lions. Phase 2, quote, Phase 2, Dan Campbell reloads coaching staff, story by Christian Bohr of SI.com. So we all get it. Lions lost more than a few people, not only just their coaching staff, but also the front office. And Dan Campbell has been working on doing things. He did offer in the press conference yesterday. He talked about both Ben and Aaron Glenn leaving, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn leaving, departing for their jobs. Talked about other people coming on over, people taking off to take positions outside of the NFL, and how it does have an effect on the team. He also went into details how he gave both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn some words of advice regarding that, in his opinion, what he felt they needed to do when the situation arose for them. So Ben Johnson, we get it. He's going to be a part of the main topic today. Aaron Glenn seems like he's really still on the phone relatively every day with Dan Campbell, talking about NFL club management, things going on with the combines, all that kind of stuff. Dan Campbell also spoke at length about the hiring of John Morton, Kelvin Shepard being promoted to the defense coordinator role, and that he conducted roughly between 24 and 26 interviews to evaluate the people they were considering bringing in. Dan Campbell did his due diligence. So we have, as fans, lots of questions about some of these new coaches. It doesn't sound like Dan Campbell does, though. he really does have a good set of belief in each of these people. He understands it's going to be a challenge for all the new people coming in to replace Ben Johnson, to replace Aaron Glenn, and other people like Antoine Randall L., who he spoke briefly about and eloquently about. So Dan Campbell understands the situation, but as fans, if you take him at his word yesterday, he feels pretty dang good about the new hires. So let's go with that. All right, next to 5 headlines now. Lions share big Aidan Hutchinson news at Combine. Story by Richard Lewis of Fanside. And no, this is not pertaining to the main topic today, but we'll get into it. Brad Holmes talked a lot about the scarcity and value of pass rushers. Said they were in the planning stage of an Aidan Hutchinson contract. They then was asked if they could add another premier pass rusher given the cost, and Brad Holmes came out quickly and said probably not. So Brad Holmes, in a nutshell, understands exactly what they have in Aidan Hutchinson. He is potentially a generational talent at the position. You guys, if you watch this show for any length of time, you understand when the Lions drafted him, I immediately thought when I watched him in Combine, when they drafted him, I was like, man, this guy is another, Bruce Smith type. You look at the shoulder mass, you look at the hips, you look at the waist, you look at his range with his arms, the whole shebang-a-bang. To me, to this day, he's probably the best comparison to Bruce Smith I've seen in the NFL since Bruce Smith departed. Brad Holmes understands Aidan Hutchinson is always going to be a Lion, or at least that's his goal or desire. So anybody who had any kind of worries about them not wanting to extend him, that maybe they're going to let him play out, Aidan Hutchinson play out this upcoming year to see how that leg is. That doesn't seem, according to Brad Holmes during yesterday's presser, that that's going to be the case. Brad Holmes likes what he has with Aidan Hutchinson. I think all the fan base is okay with him retiring a Lion. And will he get more than just one more contract? Probably. My guess is he'll get 2 more, maybe even 3 more contracts if he's really blessed. But you will not see Aidan Hutchinson leaving the Detroit Lions anytime soon. And I think that's good news for all Lions fans. Kirby Joseph makes his thoughts clear about future with the Lions. Story by Pro Football Daily. Kind of continuing the trend here, but I will think this also goes with the Aidan Hutchinson story that we just read about in the 5 headlines now. Kirby Joseph did an interview yesterday with Jim Rome and, quote, I want to be a lifelong Lion, man, and end quote. So Kirby Joseph talked to Jimmy Rome. I haven't listened to Jim Rome in forever. I used to back in the day, but I don't even know what stations he's on locally anymore. At any rate, though, Kirby Joseph talked about his time with the Lions, how much he's improved, how much the team was disappointed with the loss to the Commanders. I mean, what Lions player wouldn't have been disappointed with that? Also talked about taking on more of a leadership role with the defense this past season and for the foreseeable future. Kirby Joseph is far more integral, in my opinion, especially when you listen to this interview with Jim Rome at the Lions for the Lions defense than probably any of us really know. We all get the commanders of the team, the leaders of the team are probably like Aidan Hutchinson, maybe Alex Anzalone, Brian Branch, but it does sound like Kirby Joseph is also an integral part of that. Kirby Joseph, he had an MVP type season on defense, and I'm guessing based on everything he puts out there in the interview with Jimmy Rome, that you're going to see him here be a Lion for a long time. And my guess is they've already begun negotiations on a contract extension. He didn't give details about it. He just kind of hinted that his representation and the Lions were chatting to make it happen. So I'm going to guess all of us would agree we don't want Kirby Joseph leaving. We don't want him going to the Jets or anywhere else. We want to keep him here, and he wants to be a Lion for life. So good for him, man. Aaron Glenn comments on Lions replacement for him after split. Fan side story by Richard Lewis with this one. So I think most of us get Aaron Glenn and Kelvin Shepard were pretty close. Dan Campbell and Kelvin Shepard are pretty close. If you remember watching Hard Knocks, whatever it was, 2-3 years ago when the Lions were out there, you saw how Dan Campbell and Shep kind of interacted, talked. Dan Campbell said, hey, don't cut the hair. That's part of who you are. Be who you are. All that kind of stuff. Aaron Glenn has a lot of good praise in his interview at the Scouting Combine yesterday. A couple different people asked him about his replacement in Kelvin Shepard. He just said, quote, he's tough. He's gritty. He understands ball from a number of different perspectives. Totally have a lot of confidence in that man. Glenn goes on to talk about that he doesn't know what Shepard's going to do as far as he's going to play mostly man or zone or whatever. He just said he has a ton of confidence. He's done everything in the past 2 seasons to try to help Kelvin Shepard, mature quicker into a potential defense coordinator role. That was his plan for Kelvin Shepard, is to be his replacement should he get a head coaching job, which we all know Aaron Glenn did get. So is Shepard really going to be the man? I think so. And if you listen to what both Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell have had to say about him, I got to think the future is pretty bright for this guy. All right, we'll take care of that in the main topic of the day. Sorry about that. Let's see, last of the 5 headlines now. Lions general manager Brad Holmes reveals team is looking at Cardinals free agent. Athlon Sports, story by John Vicario. And I brought this up because normally I think most of us agree you don't really give out information like this during a presser. To me, this was a bit of a mess up or misstep, if you want to say, for Brad Holmes. But since he did it, let's talk about it. He's talking about, he's reviewed, him and his staff, the scouting department, a ton of film on a couple of players. He didn't name who the players were. He just simply said they were offensive side of the ball, Arizona Cardinal player. That is a free agent. So let's dive into it. Who could it be? Here's what I came up with. Here's what the story also kind of refers to. See what you guys have to say. The player that stands out as an obvious potential choice for the Lions would be Will Hernandez. He's been a solid right guard for the Cardinals over the last 3 years, but he is set to become a free agent this year. He is going to be 30. Last year, he made under $5 million a season. Is he going to be Kevin Zeitler? When I checked out stuff on him and I didn't have an opportunity to deep dive on him, the quick answer is no. He's not quite that guy. Is he better than Glasgow? In my opinion, based on maybe like 10 minutes of watching film, I would say yes. He's a pretty good, not a significant, but a pretty good upgrade from him. Could it be the Lions or Brad Holmes are referring to Will Hernandez to come in and help with the offensive line? It's possible, especially if you get him anywhere near that price tag. We all get that Christian Mahogany is probably going to be a starter next year. He looked real good in the 2 starts he had for us this past season. Bringing in Hernandez would give a little bit of a offensive line, in worst case scenario, some solid depth there. It could be possible the Lions or Brad Holmes were talking about a different spot on the field. I'm just not sure who it would be. Maybe one of the receivers, because they do have a couple of receivers that are set to hit free agency. I don't think there'd be anybody extraordinarily over the top. But if you're talking just about depth, wide receiver number 4, 5, etc., you might have a guy coming over from Arizona. Why Brad Holmes revealed this, I don't know, because it does seem outside the norm for him and any kind of general manager. Again, he didn't name specific, so you kind of got to Scooby-Doo it, who it is that they're referring to. But my guess is it is the offensive guard, the right guard, Will Hernandez. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, with all that said, done out of the way, let's go ahead and get over to the main topics of the day. And let's start off with the first one. All right, the first one, we'll go to probably the less emotional one right here. NFL analyst slams door on disappointing return season for Lions star Aidan Hutchinson. Chris Sims was a player in the NFL, now makes his day working for NBC and his own podcast, talking about NFL stuff, whether it's this kind of news, that kind of news, whatever it is. Chris Sims does feel like there is a real possibility that Aidan Hutchinson is going to drop off this upcoming season. And they dived into it. Him and Mike Ferriero yesterday talking about it. Sims cited concerns about Hutchinson's health, mentioning potential issues with his leg and ligaments. He said, quote, "We don't know what Aidan Hutchinson will be next year. His legs snapped in half. Ligaments were bothered. Bones are not as strong. So this gives a little leeway on that." I would disagree with Chris Sims in a couple of things right off the bat. One, according to multiple reports from the doctors, no ligaments were messed with in any way, shape, or form. Same with nerves. That was a clean break. The other part is bones, when they break and they heal, unless you have a rare genetic condition or some sort of protein deficiency in your blood and your bone structures, then the bone should actually be stronger than it was before. So I get some of this is the off seasons type stuff. But is Chris Sims right? Is there a real reason for concern? Now, if you go by what the Lions apparently are saying yesterday, they're looking to extend Aidan Hutchinson sooner, not later. Same with Kirby Joseph. We got into that during the 5 topics now. So my thought is, if you're talking about extending him now, the Lions probably don't have any real concerns about Aidan Hutchinson's leg. But let me ask you, Duke Crew, if you were Brad Holmes right now, would you have these worries that Chris Sims is mentioning? That perhaps you need to see him go out there and perform again at a high level before you extend him with a 3 to 4 year contract worth, I don't know, 25, 30, 33 million a year, somewhere in that range. Let me know in the comment section. I'd be interested to see, if we all take a step back from our fandom, what would you do if you're the Detroit Lions? Would you look to extend Aidan Hutchinson this offseason? Just put, Hutch, yes, Hutch, no. How about that? One or the other. Me, myself, and I, if the medical staff says that he's good to go, they don't have any problems with him from a physical standpoint, I do want to extend him now, because I believe even if he takes a little bit of a step back early in the season as he's getting his strength or whatever back, I think he's going to be fine, considering the bone was a clean break. I want to get him at this year's numbers, not 2026 or 27's numbers for that contract. Because as we all get it, we talk about it every offseason, prices for everybody only going one way. So are you extending Hutchinson now? Me, yes. But what would you guys do, Duke Crew? Let me know in the comment section. Mike Florio and Chris Sims continue to go on about him, talk about, hey, Hutchinson, had a great season last year. They do point out some of his sacks were against, second or even third string right tackles, etc. They do kind of talk about, is the hype on Aidan Hutchinson overblown? Mike Florio does kind of say that he thinks it is to a degree, thinks that Hutchinson and the Lions would benefit from a Myles Garrett addition. Of course, we know, according to Brad Holmes yesterday, if you take Brad Holmes at his word, which it's the offseason, so everybody's playing playing chess, not checkers, moving things around, trying to misdirect people. I think, obviously, if you put another stud on that defensive line, it's going to be harder to contain Hutchinson. I don't have any worries about his return, his health, but we'll see if they are right. They do talk a lot about it. They do talk about the mental situation facing Hutchinson. I guess we'll have to wait and see what goes from there. All right, let's go ahead and get over to the other main topic of the day. And 1, 2, and 3. All right, in the Lions Talk Live, first ever happening. Yes, the second main topic of the day. So for those who don't know, everybody and their mother is at the scouting combine this week, talking about this, watching that, trying to figure out who they're going to take in the first round, second round. They're trying to find out. There's a lot of guys that are pretty good guys. And I don't care what sport it is, or male or female, you're going to have all sorts of people come on out, and you've watched the film on them from a collegiate standpoint, or I guess in some cases a high school standpoint or overseas standpoint, whatever it is. You're doing your due diligence. Now, what are some of the small metrics that change your opinion from this guy to that guy? The grades, that is. You go to the scouting combine to find out just a little details you don't normally get when watching tape or watching someone live. The fact that somebody's hand length is this length, their 40-yard dash, this guy is I'll just make something up here, a 4.6, where the guy I was watching and scouting, he's a 4.7. And the more you get those numbers, it does affect our opinions on who we're going to take. While they're there, though, as you guys knew in the main topic of the day, the headline, Ben Johnson talked to the media. Ben Johnson did kind of take a shot at Jared Goff, and I'm not going to walk you through everything. Just, basically in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing here, he talks about all the stuff he's done in Detroit as an OC and how it's going to be nice to have a quarterback that can get out of the pocket, extend plays, and if you guys want to check out it, I'm sure you can find it on Yardbarker, SI.com, or 20 other different websites that have the quotes from Ben Johnson. But in a nutshell, he takes shots at Jared Goff that sometimes he felt like he was working with, limitations when he would call plays. That Goff, while he had an amazing season, having whatever it was, 4,700 yards passing and nearly 40 touchdowns, said a lot of times it was just tough because he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. He had to rely on his arm. He did go on to say that one of the reasons he took the Chicago job is because Caleb Williams, shout out to USC, Caleb Williams, because he can extend plays, he can get out and run, he's got an arm. He feels like he's now working with the right type of quarterback. That's a direct quote, by the way, the right type of quarterback. So, you can have your opinions on it. I took it, and it sounds like other people, when they wrote the articles, took it as, yes, Ben Johnson was not always a fan of working with Jared Goff. Maybe that's why you never see them hug on the sidelines. You never saw Goff, score a big touchdown, come over and, chest bump Ben Johnson. And I know other people have talked about it this offseason, but I'm thinking more and more, there wasn't a great relationship between these two. That Ben Johnson feels like Goff held him back. Goff felt like Ben Johnson got too much credit for, the results that Jared Goff would put up, etc. That Goff felt like, I did this with the Rams. I did this with the Lions. To a certain extent, I've got some talent. I've got some abilities. Where apparently Ben Johnson thinks that if the Lions would have had a different quarterback, and again, I'm just kind of reading between the lines here based on his quotes, that maybe the Lions would have done more and Ben Johnson would have been able to do more. But what say you guys do, crew? Are you marking the calendar when they put out the schedule for the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions? I'm going to guess, that most of us are. I also think most of the players in Detroit are too. I get the Chicago Bears players, they're going to be caught in the crosshairs. Hey, sorry for your luck, man. But it does seem like Jared Goff's going to be going after this guy or the Bears. It sounds like St. Brown's going to be going after him and a lot of other Lions. Maybe there was a little bit of tension there. It seems like the offseason has added to that tension. And it does also feel, if you remember some of the quotes right after Ben Johnson got hired, that some of the Lions players and maybe even the coaches felt like he didn't do a great job getting the offense ready for that Washington Commanders game. You know what? You got 20 different things to probably have a good Mountain Dew and get ready for those Chicago Bears games. I think this latest development is going to add even more fuel to that fire. All right, I've gone on too long with these main topics of the day and the other stuff. Let's get over to you guys in the Duke Crew comment section and get this show rocking and a rolling and a going as I try to scroll up to the top of the screen. Marcus, good morning. Dan and Duke Crew, back at you. Hopefully it's a phenomenal start to today. Jessica, good morning to all. Same to you. Muskar, good morning. Duke Crew, starting lineup, and back at you. Hopefully it is a great day over in Pawpaw. Robert, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan of the Duke Crew. The Lions are the grooviest, Thaddeus. I like the way you're thinking. Marcus Holmes was transparent during today's interview at the NFL Combine. He made a lot of sense and basically confirmed that we are not getting Garrett or any big-name defensive end. I would agree with that, Marcus. Unless he's pulling like some sort of misdirection. And the only reason why I could think maybe that's a possibility, Marcus, is maybe he's trying to push the price down. Hey, if they think we don't want him, maybe the price tag comes down on him and makes it more plausible. I do think, and I know we've all talked about it, I don't feel like it's a typical Brad Holmes move to give up a gajillion draft picks for one player, but been wrong before. All right, Jameer, greetings, salutations, everyone. Same to you. Ben Johnson is a B word. Yeah, a bad word indeed. A bad word indeed. France, anyone watch the Holmes conference? I did kind of listen to it while I was doing work. It seems clear based on what he said, the Lions aren't going to trade for anyone of a big name. I would say, and I get, we've been talking about all offseason. Is it possible? Sure. Is he playing checkers? I don't know. Misdirection stuff. I personally think if they're going to make a trade for a pass rusher, it would be like Trey Hendrickson or something. Somebody you can get for like mid-round draft picks, not, opening day, second day draft picks. Jared, I can't wait until the season starts. I hope we put it to the Bears every time. I think, like we're just saying, I think the vast majority of the Lions coaching staff, the players, are going to be circling those games. Ben Johnson, I don't know, man. To me, myself, and I, and all the 100 billion years I've coached, you always try to be respectful of your opponents. Even when you win, and if you win, if you're lucky enough to win by a good amount, be respectful of them. Ben Johnson, whether it's inadvertently, while it's immaturity, whether it's a lack of experience, I just feel like he keeps putting his foot in his mouth. And it's not like he's doing something egregious over the top saying, man, the Lions stink. I should have been the head coach, or, man, this player, stunk. I had to carry them. He doesn't do that, but he does enough subtle stuff that, man, somebody get him a PR rep. Hookadoo. Good morning, Duke Crew. Ben Johnson can eat. Yes, insert words here. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. I didn't see it, France Ferdinand, but I feel that just means getting a player like the guy from Cincinnati makes more sense. Yeah, Trey Hendrickson is his name. And yes, I think he makes sense. Could it be they just sign a free agent and draft some people? I think it's all on the table. Maybe that's a better way to put it. It's E. Good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke Crew. Back at you. Hopefully it's good morning. Eddie, greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. Shake my head at Sims and Ben Johnson. Why in the heck would you say anything inflammatory during the offseason? That's a great question, man. And, Phil Sims, I get it, him and Mike Florio, they're trying to make stuff every day to keep viewers coming to their channel. I mean, I get that part. That's part of their job, and I don't discredit it for them. It's the offseason. It's your job. How about that? But Ben Johnson, this isn't his job, and he is putting a pretty big bullseye on himself and the Bears. Patrick, as far as Ben Johnson goes, he just keeps adding fuel to the fire, and we will bury him next year. I think so. I think, yeah, it's going to be fun cheering against the Bears. Patrick, with Hutchinson, I don't think there is anything in his DNA that will let him drop off even a little. Yeah, I think he wants to go forward. And again, I know I always use the Bruce Smith analogy when comparing him, but if you guys are old enough to remember Bruce Smith, I mean, that dude had a motor and just I don't think there was ever a point in a game where that motor stopped. He would just go and go. I mean, he was the Terminator out there. Reminds me a lot of Robert Porsche, to use a Lions analogy. And I do agree with you, Patrick. I think all three of those gentlemen are very similar. Porsche, Hutchinson, and Bruce Smith. Let's see. Can't wait to sweep the Bears this year. 100%, my friend. I think, those would be phenomenal games. Aaron, good morning, Coach and crew. Back at you. Rob, the Bears are not a hoot football team, and Ben John is not going to change that. I hope so, man. I hope they fall down on their faces at least twice a year. Trey, what's good, y'all? Question mark. So if Brad Holmes is telling us straight, we ain't we aren't trading for any star pass rusher. So who do we add in free agency and the draft? I know there will be a lot of you that say, let's go after Sweat in free agency. I'd have no problem with that. Cleo Mack on the right price number. Although if you really feel like he's the dude still for a season or two, maybe that's where you go. And then probably the draft. And the draft, I know we went through about 3 different people yesterday that would be strong candidates to go potentially to the Lions. We'll see what they go. The only thing I can say, and I know I keep repeating this, so I'm sorry, is if I'm going to draft somebody in this year's draft for Lions, and you could even argue last year's draft, probably even next year's draft, I want genetically rare people. They've got to have some sort of genetic component that it's just unreplicable. Now, if they have that along with the personality, the right personality traits, and you feel like they just need to be coached up, taught more stuff, that's what I'd be targeting for this Lions team. Because realistically, most of the people we're going to bring in this year, just like last year's draft, aren't coming in right away. The team's too talented. They would really have to be over the top good for us to probably start them, maybe in rare circumstances. All right, Ken, good morning, Duke Crew. Same to you. Tori, morning, Duke Crew. What did Sims say about Hutch? Basically that he wouldn't be extending him, and he expects Hutchinson to decline next year in his production. Hookadoo, maybe Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams can go to Mary Kay makeup parties together. Hey, you got to have goals, right? Some bonding opportunities. Rob, Kendall, music be groovy, and smash the woo button for Coach Dan the Man. Yes, if you can, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you guys for that, by the way. Rob, Hookadoo, unless BJ jumps ship for Avon, hey, got to have options, right? Good to have opportunities. Jess, greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. Question for the masses. Have we stopped to consider the team wants Wingo, Smith, and whoever we draft to be our main ends? It's possible, and that's a great question. Mekhi Wingo did show some promise last year. I mean, not that we didn't have other guys, Pascal or whoever that stepped up in the certain circumstances, but maybe you're right. Maybe the team is just going to go with maybe, Zadarius Smith as a starter, whoever you draft to be a rotational guy along with Mekhi Wingo. That's a very good point. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dane, the Duke Crew, exclamation point. What a team. What a podcast. Thank you for that. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! Go Lions. And thank you. Thank you very much. Susan, good morning. Good morning, exclamation point. Coach, how did your team do in the playoffs last night? We had a game last night. We won in I think it was like 20 points or something. And we don't start the playoffs. We have a first-round bye Monday, so we don't play until a week from tonight. Wow, that's crazy. A week from tonight. All right, okay, Rob Kendall laughing. Five Fingers Freddy. Brad did talk about the Lions adding free agency, did add free agents, but did say more or less that he wouldn't make a move for a main pass rusher. Correct. He did say that. It did say that 100%. Man Bear, good morning. Dan Aru and Scooby-Doo crew. Same to you. Jim, good morning, all. Let's get our free agents signed and use their 8 draft picks to strengthen the O&D. We only need 3 or 4 pieces. Yeah, I'd say that's about right, and that's why I won't be surprised on draft days. I have to get used to saying that because it's not one day. During the draft, we probably do make some trades, is my guess. So small. So what do we need to do in order to draft Mike Green? If his combine goes as well as I'm anticipating this week, he's probably going somewhere in the teens. I don't think he's going to make it into the top 10. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I could see him going somewhere between 14 and 22. And if that's the scenario, you're probably having to move off some draft picks to go up and get him. Virgil, what did Holmes say about free agency? Just that more or less he pointed out that they've already started looking at guys, have some ideas in mind. Then he did kind of mention that he doesn't anticipate the team's going to add a elite pass rusher who's already in the NFL. Voltron, good morning, Duke Crew. Same to you. Let's see, Phil, good morning. Man, good morning, Phil. John, here we go. Going to talk about throwing shade at Goff. Well, you know what? It would be nice to have a quarterback can run and throw. Sorry, we have lead boots. Goff can't get out of his own way. He can't, if your expectations for a quarterback is that they have to be able to run the 40-yard dash on the same level with a cornerback or linebacker or whatever, then Goff ain't the dude. But I know we did this yesterday, so I don't dive into too much. But think of all the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks who weren't very mobile in the pocket. And, just part of, if it was just, hey, get a guy who can run, then, probably that's what everybody would do. But there are quite a few NFL quarterbacks in this league that aren't great at escaping the pocket. All right, Daddy. Oh, yeah, I'm all about this. Exclamation point. Woo! Landscaper from Central Florida. Hey, you are up early, my friend. Go Lions. Woo! And Central California. And good morning to you too, Daddy. Let's see. Phil, so Johnson steals our news cycle and turns Detroit into Chicago sports. Ben Johnson is broski. There could be some truth to that. Pat, my question is this. Is Ben Johnson correct? Question mark. We can hate he called out Goff, but is Ben right about it? And I know, oh gosh, who was it? John? Yeah. It's not that you guys are wrong or anything about Jared Goff. We all get it. He cannot run. He is not mobile. But if you're going to get rid of Jared Goff, this is the question I always throw out, or any player. Do you have a clear, easy path to somebody who's better than them? And I guess if you feel Hendon Hooker's the dude, then maybe, cut Jared Goff, get rid of his contract this year, and then you free up the cap space in the following years. But if you don't know he's better, now you're going to create a bigger problem if you just move off Goff. Because if the next guy can't replicate what Goff does and you take a step back, does your team now take a step back? That, hey, you want to get a better quarterback? I'm fine with it. Who is it? Let me know. Rob, Phil, Ben Johnson's punishment is actually having to live in Chicago. It could be that. Art, I hope Ben Johnson's season is a train wreck and he gets fired the first season. Wouldn't that be something? Daddy Gamer, what do you got? It's a free agent defensive end. Sign our own key pieces. Draft best available. Win the bowl. Rinse and repeat. Woo! I like the way you're thinking. Dave Bing, Goff better show up both games against the Bears next year, or that's not going to go well for anybody if he lays an egg in both games. Daddy Gamer, hit that like button. Woo! Thank you for that. Hit the like and subscribe. Let's see, Phil. No, he's not. If anything, it proves Johnson has zero character. Through the game away at Washington and after last November, he checked out of Lions. There does seem to be more and more corroborating evidence that week leading into the Washington Commanders game that Ben Johnson was probably more worried about his, getting pieces for the Chicago Bears coaching staff than he was breaking down film and putting the players in the best situation. The players for Detroit haven't outright said that, but now that we're a month and a half removed from that game, there does seem to be enough pieces here and there from people kind of paraphrasing or mentioning this or that it does seem like most of the players feel that way. All right, Mutzgar, all Ben said is that he sees Caleb has the ability to extend plays when off script. that he wasn't around that before, which he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Goff is not good when throwing off platform. No, you're right with that. Moonscar. But Ben saw it happen against us plenty, which is so true. This is true. Danny from Maruski was an audition and hope Ben rots. Yeah, 100%. Jim, I want Hooker to play at least half or more of the preseason and be ready if Goff goes down. We don't need a draft pick quarterback. Yeah, I do hope Hendon Hooker basically gets all the snaps, maybe at least the vast majority of the snaps in the preseason. We as fans can look out there and say, man, he's not looking bad. We all get the defenses in the preseason are vanilla. They're not, really over the top. They're not NFL defenses at that point. But I do hope Hendon Hooker looks pretty good. All right, Stephanie, Coach, I took the day off Wednesday to come over and watch your team play. Yeah, just remember, it's next week. It's not today. But, hey, it'll be good to see you there. I'll see you, come up and say hi pregame or whatever. John, let's talk about Enterprise, Brad. That won't go get a stud to help us win a Super Bowl. Why will never be in a Super Bowl? Let cheap Brad cook. Only thing Brad is cooking is Spam. Hey, sometimes Spam with a little bit of hot sauce ain't so bad. Phil, Steph, can you share a video of Coach and team in action? All right. How would she share it on here? That's the problem, though. If you really want to see me, Coach Phil, you can watch the high school sporting events online nationally now. You can watch basically any sport, any high school sport across the nation. There's a couple different services that provide them. Patrick, John, if all you're going to do is complain, go somewhere else and do it. It's plain to see you are clueless and why you're talking about. Okay. Phil, almost time to remake the Open, Dan. Any idea what you may do? Nah, I'll worry about that stuff when we get closer to the season. When we know who's in and out in the from the team, that's when I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to worry about it until we know those guys are no longer here. Benjamin, simply ready for to Johnson. Beat them twice, rinse and repeat, about 50 points per game. Enough said. Hey, let's do that. Phil, Dan, I'm Batman Thornton. Hey, I'd be okay with being Batman. Even Robin. Let's see. Hunskar from Maruski was awesome. Data Gamer. And I won over 1,200 on 2 different bets when Laporta scored on it. All right. Hey, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. Rob, 2 main topics, question mark. Dang, Coach, you're laying it all on the line. Hey, we like to always push the envelope here on Lions Talk Live. And yes, 1, 2, maybe someday 3 main topics. Think about that. Kurt Steele, what up, Duke Crew? What's up, man of Steel? Damian, happy hump day. Dan and Duke Crew, back at you. I like what Holmes said yesterday. I prefer depth over talent when it comes to dealing with a problem with a depleted roster. Yeah, I'll go with that. And, I get we all want that other big gun on the defensive line. I hope we find it in the draft or free agency, or maybe he really does make a trade. Who knows? But the other part is we saw what happens when injuries really start rearing up with a team. If you have more depth, maybe it makes it more plausible to survive it. We'll see what they do. Hopefully they continue to draft well. Benjamin, anytime someone brags about their winnings, there is probably an equal or greater amount of losses that forgot. Okay, I'll go with that. Rob, what up, Doe, man of Steel? We'll find out. Kurt Steele, there's a Boss Up Ball Out show today at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you check over to it. Lauren, good morning, everyone. I made it. Hey, congrats for making it. Josh Jackson, good morning, everybody. Back at you. Phil, how many bugs and secret cameras did Johnson install at Allen Park? Man, I'm sure they're sweeping for him. See, Kurt Steele, interesting presser by Holmes and MCDC yesterday. Yeah, I did think they were a little bit more revealing about some things that I wouldn't anticipate that they would have revealed, I guess. Phil, did MCDC call out AG for a lack of focus on the front 7 of defense? Question mark. AG is a defensive back coach. The new DC is a linebacker front 7 coach. There is a change between the two for sure. And Josh, those were 2 great press conferences yesterday. Glad to see and hear from Dan and Brad and kind of where their minds is at the moment. They seem comfortable and in good spirits. They do indeed. They feel like, hey, at least I got the sense they feel pretty good about the team as a whole and what they're going to do this offseason to push that team forward. Josh Hurd. Yeah, I knew we were going with that, man. Keith, good morning and greetings, salutations. Dan and the Duke Crew, same at you, Keith. Hopefully it's a phenomenal morning. Phil, I thought Dan Campbell seemed just a little shell-shocked. Okay, maybe he was, man. Could be maybe flying over there, going through everything. Who knows? Josh, Phil, we were considering the situation. Yes, I'll go with that. Rob, is Jim Rome even still alive? back in the day, I used to really enjoy listening to him. The only problem is, to me, after a while, he kind of lost some of his flavor. Maybe, I guess that's what I would say. Phil, what's that on your finger, Dan? It is a ring, Phil. I can't wear it all the time, though, because it drives my hand nuts. I don't know, metals, things like that. I know my mom has issues with that stuff, too. I don't know, something to do with the nerves or whatever. So I wear it from time to time. I also got to take it off for a while, too. All right, Josh, Phil, oh boy, there it is. He must only like half of his money. There you go. Phil, that's a huge ring. Jen must want all her competitions to know Dan is married. There you go. Yeah, it's I guess it's a good size ring. I don't really know. Carl, Dan Criminal Campbell is not an idiot and a moron. He owes me $7 million. Can and will make life miserable for the Lions. I will even contact the NFL commissioner to block the Lions from anything. All right, Carl, why does he owe you money? I guess let me know. Let's see. Dennis, good morning, Dan and Duke Crew. Back at you. John, morning to Dan and the world-famous Duke Crew. Woo! I'll go with that. Phil, just kidding, Coach. I know you're probably right with that to a certain degree. Robert, greetings and salutations, Dano and crew. Same at you, Robert. Rob, Ben Johnson is proving he's good at shooting promos, but this is football. You might be right there. Robert, Benedict Johnson is not a kind human being. Pierce, what did Benedict Johnson say now? Kind of took some shots at Goff, basically paraphrasing here. He's going to like working with a quarterback who is more mobile to extend plays, not have the game plans and feel hampered a little bit by a quarterback who isn't mobile. I guess that's a good way to word it. Vernon, good morning, Coach and crew. Coach Ben Johnson knows how to get under Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell's skin. Coach Brad better hit a home run in the draft. Hey, let's hope they do. That would be good for us, right? Pierce, the only concern is a 20-sack season for Hutch. Then the price goes up. Yeah, if you delay and he has some sort of monster season, we get it, man. That price tag is going to go flying through the roof. Angie, no worries on Hutch? Yeah, I don't think so either. Kim, Hutch, yes. Pierce, Hutch, yes. And now I like it. Hookadoo, Hutch healed with grit. He'll be fine. Oh, I did send him a lot of delicious Mountain Dew, which was, we all know, especially if you get it from a Circle K, that stuff is like the elixir of gold, the fountain of youth. Phil, if you think Johnson is going to get under Brad and Dan's skin, question mark, that's wrong. Dan was Johnson's head coach. If anything, the Lions are in Johnson's head. That could be true. And you know what? The more the Bears lose the Lions this upcoming year, the following season, it will cause a mental component for Ben Johnson. Is my guess, at least. Moonscar, Ben Johnson for sure, but overall, I am on the plus side, and I'm not hurting financially. There you go. Brent, extend Hutch now. Oh, yeah. I'll go with that with an exclamation point. Brian, good morning, everyone. I'd wait till mid-season to make sure he is healed and no setbacks. I'm down with that. Phil, Lions will know by the second week of camp what Hutch can do. Yeah, there's probably a lot of truth to that. Keith, I liked Brad's press conference yesterday. Didn't catch MCDC's presser. I like that they both got in front and took the lead, set the example to the team. Go Lions. Woo! Super Bowl bound. I think this is going to be a super season coming up. Mr. Detroit City, keep up the great work, Dan. Hey, anytime, man. Glad. Hopefully you guys like it and glad to do it. Again, longer you wait to extend Hutch, the more it will cost. Get it done. Yes, I would concur with that. Henry Moore, Hutch, yes, give him some preseason play. Get him up to game day ready. Yes, I think they could be a possibility. Hookadoo, morning, Brett DeWitt. Trump's genius, Hutch at 90% is better than 90% of the NFL. That may be the most true statement of the day. Brett, good morning, Hookadoo. Phil, Lions may have lost in the playoffs, but they were 15-2. Correct with that. Still believe Johnson threw the game. I'll say this. I want to believe no coach would intentionally cost their team a game. That's what I want to believe. When I rewatched the game, I know I shared this, I think the week after the game, because I rewatched it once or twice. What I would say is this. I don't think Ben Johnson was fully invested nor prepared for the Washington Commanders game. And you could see that lack of preparation affect the players. Hey, man, any game, any level, usually if two teams are fairly even, it's small details that separates who wins and loses. That game, I really think there's about 5 to 6 different opportunities the Lions could have won the game, or instead the plays go against the Lions, and because of it, they lost. All right, so that's, to me, a lack of preparation for those moments. Keith, Hutch, yes, exclamation point. He will be great. Sign him up. Woo! I'll go with that. Keith D or Big D. Excuse me. Sad thing is Ben is speaking the truth. Goff needs mobility. I know he's working on it. It did last year and hopefully this year some more. Brian, Dan, did you listen to Ben Johnson? He actually took a shot at our defense way more than he did. Goff basically said the defense couldn't stop no one. This is true. You're not wrong, Brian. But at least with that, I would say most of us would get it, that the defense was so depleted. That's why. But you're spot on with it, man. You are spot on. Brent, skip Ben Johnson. We'll be skipping him down the street to Loserville. I don't know. Well, we'll do something with him. How about that? Mudscar Blade Trump's genius. I like that take on Hutch. There you go. Yeah, 100%. You're not wrong. Neither one of you. Pierce, Benedict Johnson will be fine. Let's hopefully he's not fine twice a year against Lions. Hookadoo. That piece of guy through the game, he might have. Ken, the Bears, yeah, Ben Johnson, yes, we'll go with that. They are hopefully never going to be number one, is you're pointing out there. Kim, Ben Johnson has shown who he really is, probably true. He will find out real quick what it means to be a trusted head coach. Ben Johnson is fraud. Might be true. Big D, I agree. Skip Ben Johnson, but facts are facts. He's not mobile at all. I'll go with that. Big D, now his words about our defense, we will be tee off on them. Yeah, I think to your guys' point, you're going to give some more fuel for the defense to perform even better against Ben Johnson. Bryant, let's get Chicago week 1. Oh, maybe we will. Vincent E., Ben Johnson is a joke. Vernon, do you agree we need a major impact player or players to help Hutchinson? And will Brad Holmes make a major trade for someone? Vernon, let's start with this. According to him, he won't make a major move for a player. It could just be, stuff to misdirect people. So we'll have to wait and see. I do think they could potentially make a trade for someone, a pass rusher, but more like a day 3 set of draft picks, maybe day 2. I don't think he's going to go after day 1 guys. Pierce, Brian, week 1 Sunday night. Wouldn't that be something? Trump's Ben Johnson was nothing without Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell didn't give him his chance. Kerry, I don't blame Johnson. Goff is a weak player. Panics, but still stands. But still stands still, wanting to get tackled. He needs to move, run. Okay. Pierce, Bennett Johnson equals Josh McDaniel 2.0. That could be a factual statement. Keith, Ben Johnson is a great OC, but that doesn't translate into a head coach. I think he will fail. Good for him if he does then, man. It'll be good for the Lions. One final, what did Ben Johnson say about Goff that was false? Nothing. Okay, I'll go with that. Ken, if your quarterback isn't mobile, better make sure your O-line is top-notch, and ours is. And I'm guessing it will even get better this year, but just need to keep it healthy, keep building it. Yeah. And I don't remember what I was watching or listening to while driving around yesterday. They were pointing out some of the more recent quarterbacks to win Super Bowls that weren't mobile guys. They point out Stafford, we get Brady, and they did point out some other people. So can you win with a non-mobile quarterback? Yeah, I think you can. Now, does it hurt to have a mobile quarterback? Absolutely not. Not at all. Let's see, Miles Marker. If people thought Stafford got booed hard, just wait until Ben's back at Ford Field. Yeah, that's probably going to be pretty loud. Vincent E., Miles Marker, facts. Dynamite. The Browns said yesterday they're not trading him, so let's take 2 to tango. Lions fans, you guys not think he's straight. Fair enough. Mark Williams is an amazing athlete. Will not take that from him, but he is not a, quote, team player. And that can and will cause issues between players. Yeah, I want to say I don't really pay attention to Chicago that much, but I do want to say last season there was something about that where the locker room was a little divided on Caleb Williams, that him and some of his skills players were kind of at odds with things. But again, don't hold me to that because I don't really cover the Chicago Bears. Egon, Saints are going to go off versus Bears. Saint is going to go off versus Bears. I love his Hines Ward, hard to bring down yards after the catch, punch you in the face style. Yeah, I think most Lions fans, Egon, really do like St. Brown. Hookadoo, morning, Miles Martin. You hit the nail on the head. Hey, sometimes we get that done around here. JC, greetings, salutations, everyone. Exclamation point. Any word on who the team interviewed during the first couple of days? Not that I know of, but I also know yesterday was a game day, so I was a little more focused on my team. So sorry about that, JC. Scott Hutch, yes, I think we all agree with that. Phil, good luck playing in that whole wind tunnel Soldier Field. Yep, and man, there can't be too many seasons left with the current Soldier Field before they move over to the new one. Vernon Ben Johnson said the Bears could use Garrett on their defense. I think just about every team could use him. And hey, if they want to give a bunch of draft picks to go get him, I guess it is what it is. Ronnie, no ill will towards Ben Johnson, but we all saw what happened to Josh McDaniels after he left Belichick. Yeah, both times, right? One Funky Henderson has said he wants to get paid. If he does, we can't afford him. Meanwhile, Miles has not said anything about getting paid. Yeah, Garrett has said he's not really looking for that bag of money. He's looking for a chance to win a Super Bowl. That was my morning. Hookadoo, the grit will pay off. Let's hope so. Phil, Lions build teams. They don't try to put square pegs in round holes. It's probably accurate. Kim, the job of the coordinator is to design plays that use the strengths of the players. Ben Johnson is showing he does not have that ability. He takes no responsibility for what he had at poor play calls. Yeah, some of those play calls, and we all probably will think of the Jameson Williams pass down the field play as being probably not ideal, especially since it was still a game at that point. You go down and score. Don't hold me to this. I don't remember all the facts, but I want to say if the Lions score a touchdown that drive, it's like a 3-point game. Griner, people forget Hutchinson came back from a broken leg in college. This is also true. He did just that. Ken, Dan, and Brad always say put players in best positions to win. I agree with that as coach. Give Goff time, and he will make the throws and beat you. Makes sense to make sure you do all you can to keep that D-line or O-line dominant. Yes, correct with that. Derek, Lions draft their pass rusher. I think that's probably looking more and more likely. Keys, Bears will be 1-7 in the division, 1-1 Minnesota, 0-2 against Detroit and Green Bay. The Bears have fun losing in the Windy City. Ben Johnson, I'll go with that. Pierce, Ben Johnson will be fired in 3 years. Could be true. Ronnie, yes, Hutch, but I think he will be at least a 5-game evaluation before they consider it. Okay, we'll go with that. Chris, to me, Ben Johnson took a shot at the defensive players. He did. Kirby and Amik tweaked about it. They did, and maybe I should have ran with that in the headline. Sorry about that, guys. But thank you, Chris. Hookadoo, 0-15 Bears will only fans at games will be pigeons. Hey, pigeons get some good seats. Trumps, Goff needs to learn when to take off, even if he's not fast. Just getting a few positive yards instead of a strip sack would be huge. You know, one thing I would say to you guys with that point, he did it more this year, extending plays, picking up 3 or 4 yards. If to me, being a mobile quarterback doesn't mean taking off and running for 90 yards, but kind of a bunch of your points. If when given the situation, he can take off and just scramble for 3 or 4 yards and take the slide or whatever, I think that would be effective enough. Because you know what? At some point, if he dinks and chips away with yards like that, you got to have somebody pick him up, because otherwise it's always going to be 2nd and 6, second and 7, and not a negative situation. Phil, Mahomes is the best at extending plays. Philly, but put an end to that narrative. Yeah, if you remember, even when Tampa Bay faced them, when Brady won it, they really got after him, and there's only so much you could do. Chris, wasn't really a shot at Goff. Okay, I'll go with that. Chuck E. Cheese, Brady couldn't even get out of his own way, and neither could manage, but they won the big game, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? And Goff has, as we all know, been in the Super Bowl. He's been in 2 title games, et cetera, et cetera. Phil, Goff actually has good footwork in the pocket. Yeah, he's not bad in the pocket, but, I get we all want more mobility. Miles Meyer, Hookadoo, if you're thinking of coming north, the Lions Kids Camp in Indian River, July 19th through 20th weekend. I'll go with that. All right, about 7 minutes left here. Hookadoo, thanks, Miles Meyer. Rob, if he did it to the Lions, he'll do it to the Bears. Probably true. Dynamite draft Milroe. Well, okay. Dennis Hex, no. All right. Ken, how many quarterbacks have won more games than Jared Goff in the last 2 years? I would even say, man, the last 3 years. But I get your point, Ken. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Waste of time talking about moving on from him. Brad and Dan believe in him. Enough said. Yeah, and for those who are in the Goff, hey, we want him here team, that I get it. He's won a ton here. If you're in the Goff needs to be out of here team, here's the question I'm still waiting the answer for. Who do you go out and get that we all know is going to do better than what Goff has done? To me, as a coach, that's the problem. We can all say, hey, we got to improve here. Okay, how do we improve there? I know sometimes even when I talk with my coaches, we need to work on this. And I'll say, all right, how do we do it? How do we make this better? And that's where it becomes a little bit more, it's easy to point out issues. It's not always easy to find out the answer to that issue. All right, Brian, I agree that Brad only will shop at Dollar General. Probably true. And we will be exactly what he said, relevant. Not winners without more top-notch help. Yeah, I'll go with that. Dynamite. Heck yes, Milrow. Yes, indeed. Kurt Steele, never saw Ben Johnson as leader of men like I did with Aaron Glenn. No, I think Aaron Glenn, he's chiseled from that leadership stone, whatever you want to say, role. Ben Johnson, I guess we'll have to wait and see. You know, I haven't ever done personality evaluations on any of them, but from the little bit you hear them talk, I think Aaron Glenn, he's going to have a path, you know, that he's got to overcome with the Jets, because the Jets, I think they've been in their own way for like 50 years for the most part. So he's going to have to overcome the organization. But if he can do that, if they can get the right players in there, he'll lead them. Ben Johnson, I would have worries about hiring him if I was in control of it because of some of his behavioral patterns. To me, he's too analytical, but, you know, that's another show. All right, Phil, I cannot wear a ring either. I offered my wife to get one tattooed on my finger. She said no. Fair enough. Rob, can we chip in and get Carl a laxative? Well, maybe. Phil, just because Johnson is the Bears coach doesn't improve the organization. Bears still stink. I concur with that. Dynamite takes 2 to go to tango, and Garrett trade. Browns not budging. Yeah, they might not, man. They might not. Mr. Ed, good morning. Duke Crew. Brad's press conference yesterday. Just menu. Me, you are. We'll go with that. Keith, Ben Johnson is now the enemy. You are not wrong there. One pride, Ben Johnson might want to wait until they actually stacks up some wins before he starts a war of words. No top 5 O-line, no St. Brown, no running back duo like Detroit has. This is true. Vincent, show glad I found this show. Sure, I'm glad you found it too, my friend. Hopefully you're enjoying it, my friend. Vincent, so glad I found the show. I knew where you were going with that, man. I got you. Phil, there were several games coach did not play by play where coach asked what the heck is Ben Johnson doing. He called a high school level game. I mean, I'll just say again, I brought this up on this show before. If you rewatch that Washington Commanders game, go to the all coaches film or the 32 film, whatever you want to call it, and just take your eyes off the field, watch Dan Campbell. People, especially when they're under stress or pressure, like a playoff game, don't really have masks they wear very long. You watch Campbell on certain play calls, I'd say probably about 12 different play calls by Ben Johnson, and you see MCDC go down to his knees, the hands go on the face, and he does like one of these numbers, so you can see he's trying to self-soothe. He's trying to release stress and tension. He is clearly less than happy with what the play call was. And I'm saying he's doing this before the ball's hiked. So he's hearing what the play is, and he's not happy about it. So you get bored this summer, this offseason, there's your homework assignment. Go watch his body language during that game, and it's crystal clear. I think that's part of the reason he brought in John Morton. One funky, Ben must have told Goff to throw a pick 6 and a fumble in the red zone and underthrow J-Mo in the end zone. Well, here's what I'll say that one funky, the fumble on the 3rd and 2, I think it was 3rd and 1 or whatever, you know, that route is clearly meant to go to St. Brown right off the bat. The problem is St. Brown slips and falls. So that quick release and the offensive line, to be fair to them, they're expecting that ball to come out in 1 second. And the exacerbates the situation when Goff now says, oh, I can't go to that first read. I got to come off that second read, where you see his head turning, but Glasgow gets destroyed, and you know what? It's coming right at him. So you can blame a lot of different people on that one. The pick 6, yes, he overthrows, and it's not a good throw. How about that one? Underthrow J-Mo in the end zone. That one, too, I do think, yeah, he had one-on-one. If you lay it out there, you need to lay it out like you're suggesting towards the end so your guy gets it or nobody gets it. I agree with you there. Courtney, his mind was in Chicago, exclamation point. His team was still in Detroit, coach. I agree with that. I agree with that fully. Moonscar, glad to have you, Vincent. Yeah, 100%, my friend. Boggy time, Jared Goff. There you go. Ken, Ben Johnson just giving Goff more board material. Yeah, poster board material to ponder before Goff kicks his butt. I'll go with that. Mr. Ed, good morning, Duke Crew. Brad's press conference yesterday just tells me he is following a plan. Yeah, he's sticking to his guns of what that plan is. Moonscar Blade, hey, Ed, seems like it's been a while since we've had you here at the same time, when we've both been there at the same time. Yeah, it's I feel like I see Ed once in a while, but not all the time. Miss Amberly, I think Ben has started the mind games part of his preseason warm-ups. Yeah, could be true. Maybe he's doing it intentionally. Phil, who else would love to see Johnson get knocked over by Monty getting out of bounds? Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it? Phil, I would, says Hookadoo. Ed, Brad said he would like several edge rushers, but that is not reality. that tells us he is going to be careful with free agency. Yeah, probably true. John, Barry got better over time. Goff needs to work on extending plays under pressure. Yeah, I go with that. Earl, good morning, Duke Crew. Back at you, Earl. Good to see you as always, my friend. Ken, Dilfer won a Super Bowl 11. He's proof you can win one without a mobile quarterback. Yes, you can win a Super Bowl without a quarterback. This is true. And that Ravens defense was pretty dang good. Let's go. Hi, Earl. Miles Marker, Grinder. I'd forgotten that. Great point. Yeah, very good point. Paul, his teammates probably would have rather him pay more attention to football instead of his. I concur. Shaft, talk about timing with that, right? Shaft, if Ben Johnson's former team doesn't have a problem with him, no one else should. Let him dig a hole. Please stop sounding like children with all the whining. Okay? John Benedict Johnson is dead to me. Probably a lot of people feel that way. Thomas, smash that like, y'all. Well, I concur. Miles Ware, but it's whining season, Shaft. This is true. Milrow, says Thomas. No. All right. Mr. Ed, hello, Moonscar Blade. Isn't it a great offseason? It is going to be a great offseason, I think. Miles Ware, welcome to the chat. Vincent E. Grit, I agree. Welcome on over. Thomas, to blame Goff on the fumble in the Washington game is moronic. All right. Keith, have a great day, Dan and the Duke Crew. Back at you, Keith. The same to you. Hookah happy trails, Duke Crew. One pride. Oh, yeah, I go with that. All right, guys, if there is some sort of breaking news today, I'll get it over to you as quick as possible. Otherwise, go, help support Kurt Steele over the Boss Up Ball Out channel. Take care. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Be a good human being. Do something kind for someone you don't know. Have a great day. See you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.
Excuse me, sir, would you... Donations to Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus? Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism? Help Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology? Or nuclear power?